Welcome to the United Stand. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made his demands to Ed Woodward and the Manchester United board. And as Manchester United fans, I think it's going to be a very interesting few weeks, and we'll speak about that in a moment. There is a little bit of breaking news as well. Manchester United again linked with Darren Fletcher as sporting director for Manchester United. This role apparently, this is all coming from Sky, so take it with a massive bag of salt because you never know. Rio Ferdinand's been mentioned, Dan Ashworth has been mentioned, and Paul Mitchell, quite interestingly, has been mentioned. But this is the sporting director role, which will be the glue between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ed Woodward. And there is reports that they won't be involved in the recruitment of players. Who will be then? Who will be involved in the recruitment of players? Are we putting it all onto the manager? Or is it still going to be somebody up in the higher echelons of Manchester United who clearly aren't qualified to do it? Interesting. Keep your eye on that. Very interested to see what's going to happen. My stance on Darren Fletcher and Rio Ferdinand is going to be very consistent. I know some people are very happy with that appointment. For me, it's not a good appointment. I think at the moment, look, 24 hours on from, this is the first time I've been live. I know I do Transfer Daily at 7 a.m. every morning, give it a watch, but this is the first time I've been live since my match reaction. 24 hours along, all I keep saying to people is, we lost 2-0 at home to Cardiff. I know we're numb by the last 5 weeks. I know we're numb. We're definitely numb, and you expect it. But we just lost 2-0 at home to Cardiff with no excuses. With a team that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer relies on. He's got his Youngie, he's got his Jonah, he's got his Rashi, he's got his Lingy, he's got his Poggy. And we still lost 2-0 fairly to Cardiff. It's a crap result. An absolutely terrible result. Capping off a terrible 5 or 6 weeks. It's unacceptable. And I think at the moment, there's a lot of people, a lot of United fans who firmly back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer like I do, but I can't guarantee it's going to be a success. What if this run of results continues into next season, into October? He will be sacked. He will be sacked. It's relegation form. He will be sacked. So at the moment, we all hope Ole's going to be the right man. I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I want him to be the right man. I think he says the right things. I think he does the right things. I don't think that means he's going to be a success. But you want to bring in a sporting director like Darren Fletcher as well. Forget about it. Forget about it. No way. No way. If we're risking with the manager, don't risk any other positions. We are taking a risk on Ole, and I hope it works out. Do not take a risk on the sporting director by bringing back another old boy like Darren Fletcher or Rio Ferdinand, who since they've retired from football have done next to nothing in relation to actual experience for the role. So it would be Paul Mitchell for me, or Dan Ashworth, somebody who's got some pedigree in that role. That's what Ole needs. If it's going to be the glue between Ed Woodward and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer need an old boy who doesn't know what they're doing, or does he need an actual specialist like Paul Mitchell who knows what they're doing? That's what United need to go out and get. But will we do it on the cheap and hide behind an old boy again? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But let's talk about what I wanted to talk about first of all. Solskjaer making Woodward transfer demands. It's been a very interesting 2 weeks. Eddie's at the wheel and you ain't seen nothing yet, says Ed Woodward. Obviously, it's not the real one unless he likes doing super chats on the United Stand. But what I want to say is, and I'm going to talk about the Pogba thing as well, but what I want to start off with is, and also just as a little bit of a shout out for those people who are watching Transfer Daily on the United Stand, I keep saying Koulibaly. There's a big story about Koulibaly today that United are after him. So, you know what? I hope I'm going to... It's not about a source. It's not about a source. I know Mourinho wanted Koulibaly. I think United have kept that deal going. And I think we are trying to get Koulibaly. So let's wait and see if my prediction is right on that. It's not a source. I've not been told this. It's just a theory. So let's see what happens with Koulibaly. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, after the game yesterday, said that he'd had... effectively said he'd had an honest and open conversation with Woodward about where Manchester United are, how far away we are, and what's required to close that gap. To me, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying the right things publicly. That statement there is basically saying, I've told the board what we need to do to get Manchester United back on track. Effectively a terms and conditions, which I'll talk about in a moment. He's also spoke about 2 weeks ago in a press conference that he will have the say on who goes and who comes into the club. So for me, those two things are very, very, very clear. If on August the 8th we've still got all the crap and we've bought nobody, Ollie's failed because he's been undermined. He's not strong enough. Or he's made the decisions, which is what we want. I'm happy about that. I'm happy Ollie's been honest with us. We want that. We crave a bit of honesty. There's so much of a grey area for the United fans about what goes on at the club. And I think Mourinho would like to speak in riddles. Van Gaal certainly did, and Moyes was just ignored. So with Solskjaer, for him to say, I've had a frank conversation with Woodward about what's required. Great. And for him to say, I'm in charge of transfers, great. Because it gives us some clarity. Asa Iamunga says, we need to feel this role of director of football, but not with ex-players and people with no experience. We need the best in class. Stop with the sentiments. Exactly, I agree with that. And what I would also say about the director of football or sporting director role is too bloody late. This should have been done in January. Sporting director cannot come in when the transfer window is open and make an impact. Transfers take a long time to work on, which is why I think we're in for Koulibaly. But let me just say this. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had a chat with Ed Woodward about what is required at Manchester United, try and bullet point me some of the things that you think are important for Manchester United, because I've bullet pointed stuff here that I would say to Ed Woodward. Chloe Jenkins says, United make Koulibaly top target. Manchester United have made Napoli defender Kalidou Koulibaly their top transfer target this summer, says the Daily Mirror. I mean, Daily Mirror, if you don't live in the UK, they're the ones who said Martial was a waste of money. He obviously wasn't. You could say he is now, but he wasn't. They're not that reliable, the Daily Mirror, to be honest. But I do believe we're in for Koulibaly. But let me just get that. Minimum of 5 players and get rid of the deadwood, says Jacob Hurley. I think that is a statement. But if I was speaking to Ed Woodward and I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would say these things. I would say 200 million minimum. £200 million minimum needs to be spent on this team this summer. 200 million. If Pogba walks out the door, I need 300 million. I need 100 of whatever you get for him. If De Gea walks out the door as well, I need another 70 million. So if Pogba and De Gea goes, he needs 370 million. If Pogba and De Gea stay, he needs 200 million. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. No messing around. That's factual. We can all moan about, Woodward won't give it to him. We can all say the Glazers are tight. We can all say we're not going to get 200 million. But we're trying to close a gap that isn't one summer. It's 6 years of mistakes. What we've spent before now, I wish people would shut up about it. I know how much it is. It's well over 400 million quid in the last 6 years. But we need to forget about it because it's all a bloody mistake. So we're not just, I know, we're so far behind those teams above us. He needs to also forget about bloody Game of Thrones and Rhaegal and bloody Stark. What was it? Rhaegal and the highest. Well, I can't remember. Jon Snow's mum and dad theory. I'll tell you what theory we need at Manchester United this summer. The S and L theory. Sanchez and Lukaku, get out. He needs to. It's not just about giving him 200 million quid. There are problems in that dressing room as well. And Sanchez and Lukaku need to go. They need to go. Liam McRae says, Mark, yourself, the United stand and the fan cams kept me going through that season. So fantastic work and keep it up. But my question is, where do you see United next year? The areas we need to work on. Well, thank you, Liam. And we're pretty much talking about that at the moment. I've been quite firm on the fact that I think we're fighting for 4th place next year at best. But these are the things we need to do. And if Ollie's had a frank conversation with Ed Woodward, which he said he has, this is not speculation, this is not the back of the Sun, this is not the back of the Daily Mirror, this is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a press conference after the Cardiff game saying, I've had a frank and honest conversation with the owners and told them what is required. And you can, unless Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a weakling, which I don't think he is, he's a fan of Manchester United like all of us lot, and I will guarantee every single one of you will be saying the same thing. At least £200 million needs to be spent. Sanchez, I don't care how you do it, I know it's very difficult, but you bought the problem. Get rid of that problem out of my dressing room. I cannot have Alexis Sanchez performing like that, earning £400,000 a week. I would say it's nothing personal, Ed. It's nothing personal about him. He's a crap piano player. He's a good dog walker. But I tell you what, as a footballer, he does nothing. And I've got a dressing room that is split because of the wages you pay him. I've lost a very good midfielder because of the wages you pay him. He needs to go or we're going to lose more players and we're going to have a split dressing room. I don't care how you do it. Get rid of Alexis Sanchez from that dressing room. It's not personal. Maybe he still is a decent player. But what you've done to this club by giving him that money, he is a problem. I don't need it. Lukaku, he's never going to have a first touch. He's not a top 4 striker. Get rid of him. And I think they're the most important 2 players to get rid of. We can all talk about, let's get rid of Young, let's get rid of Jones, let's get rid of Matic. Let's be realistic. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's not going to get rid of those players. But 200 million, Lukaku and Sanchez out the door, that's a big start for United for me. Leo Man United says, if United would have waited until the end to appoint Ole, I don't think he would have got the job. We might have gone Pochettino. Ole was pointed by sentimental. I'm going to come back to that, Leo, because it's a very, very good point. MUFC Reese Russell says, I was thinking about the transfer budget, but worst thing is on Sky Sports right now, they're talking about Fletcher with Ole. That has to be sorted. We've spoken about that at the start of the video, Reese Russell. I think it's a big, big mistake. Big mistake. I like Darren Fletcher. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a risk. Do not put another risk next to him. This position is going to be the glue between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ed Woodward. Ollie's a risk. Woodward's a risk. Let's put another risk in the sandwich. No. Let's put some proper bloody glue in the middle. Put Paul Mitchell in, somebody with a bit of experience. Sonny B, I'm glad the fans gave it to Pogba. I've been saying for a long time his attitude stinks. He plays for himself, not the team. He needs to go. We need players who will take pride in wearing the shirt. I need to come back to that one as well. Remind me. Greg Hempsel, I agree Fletcher is a questionable appointment. Director of football is all about structuring the scouting academies, etc., not just middlemen in the transfers, right? Yes, he's spot on. Toby Seffer, Mark, I broke my leg and you're keeping me through my full times. Keep up the good work. Rest up, pal. And Ed Woodward says, Man United fans are the best. Any other club's fans would be protesting by now. Our fans are moaning on Twitter and YouTube. Makes me wonder how much more fun I can have with the corpse of this club. Glory, glory, Manchester United. I mean, it's obviously somebody taking the piss, but to be honest with you, that's... So what was the two things I was going to talk about? I know, well, let's talk about the Pogba thing first. The Pogba thing, my stance... Well, no, I remember the other one now. Let me just note this, because this show is Fast and Furious 8 or whatever it is. I've never watched them films, they're shit. Please do subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video. This summer last season's over. I've had Robbie from AFTV, I've had DT from AFTV trying to banter me for 6th. It's over. You've got your Emmerdale Cup final, all the best, been there, done that. It's over. I'm not even thinking about last season. We finished 6th, we're shit. Don't come at me with we finished 5th, you finished 6th. We finished 2nd, you finished 6th. First, if you're first, you're first. If you're second, you're nowhere. So I ain't bothered. We're crap, and I embrace that. I don't need any more people telling me about it. But let me just say this. In relation to Pochettino, very, very quickly, very, very quick statement. I was reading Jim White from TalkSport said a few months ago that Ed Woodward had basically briefed people that United would not make an appointment until the end of the season. There was lots and lots of top quality candidates interested in the job, but Manchester United would take their time and they would not make an appointment until the end of the season. And then in March, he goes against that and basically bows down to what the fans want. However you read it, and I'm one of those fans who wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to get the job. I'll put my hands up. I wanted him to get the job. I don't want him to be sacked. I want him to do well. He's a risk. I'm worried. I'm more worried than I was in March. I'm a lot more worried. We've given him the job and his record's gone absolutely down the toilet. I still back him. I want him to do well. I think he's a fantastic human being. He's United through and through, but I'm worried. But I'm a fan of Manchester United. I'm allowed to be passionate. I'm allowed to get lost in the moment. That's what we do. Ed Woodward, if he did brief the press that United had loads of candidates, top quality candidates, we're going to wait till the end of the season, why has he done that? As a businessman, why has he done that? Why has he bowed down to fan pressure? Because he doesn't bow down to fan pressure on buying players. They don't bow down to fan pressure in relation to removing the players that shouldn't be here. They don't bow down into fan pressure in relation to how much they're going to pay the wages for people to wear our great shirt. But he bows down to fan pressure to appoint Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Look, in hindsight, from a business point of view, Ole, maybe Woodward should have waited till the end of the season. Maybe he should have looked at all the candidates. But he didn't. He changed his mind. And again, like Moyes, like Mourinho, like Van Gaal, Solskjaer is on the board. They've got it wrong 3 times. I really hope they don't get it wrong 4 times. MUFC Reese Russell says, Ollie, according to Sky Sports, will be able to veto any decisions about players and transfers. What is your opinion on that, Mark? Well, it makes the sporting director role irrelevant. This is what Jose Mourinho was saying. He didn't want a sporting director because he wanted the final say. If you're going to get a director of football in, get a director of football in. But it's already creating barriers because... if you look at Man City's model and you look at Liverpool's model, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola have very good relationships with their director of football equivalents. And it works really well. They're Pep's men. They're basically Pep's men. They came into the club before Pep at Man City. And Klopp gets on with his really well. But those directors of football, sporting directors, their role is recruitment. That's a big part of their role. What is the point in having a sporting director? You may as well get Fred the Red to do it. If we're just going to put a puppet there to be, I used to play for United, I'm a sporting director, we've got one now, but I have no role because he's telling me what to do, get Fred the Red to do it. It'd be a lot cheaper. He can do match days and sporting director. Dual role, save a bit of money. Pogba, let me just talk to you about Pogba because there's loads to get through here. Paul Pogba, Don't miss Flex and Rants tomorrow because, as you can imagine, Rants lives up Pogba's arse, and I've told him that loads of times, and he's very, very angry about how Paul Pogba received the treatment he received from some fans at Old Trafford yesterday. It was abusive. There was swearing. I didn't like that. But you know what? I've got no problem with a Manchester United fan having a pop at Paul Pogba. If they believe Pogba is the problem at United, I've got no problem with it. We run a fan channel. How can I sit here and go, it's bang out of order? And Rance shouldn't do it either. He goes on his fan cams having a pop at other players, yet someone has a go at a player he likes and he's like, oh, it's unacceptable, this, that and the other. What a load of nonsense. A Manchester United fan, after a week where everybody was fed up with that team, waited to the end of the game and shouted at Paul Pogba. He probably shouldn't be swearing. There's kids about. He probably shouldn't be so aggressive because it was aggressive and you don't want that. A proper protest, he could have just said, Pogba, you're not good enough for United, get out of my club. Same impact, calmly say it. I haven't got a problem with that. I don't know why people have got a problem with it. I've heard today, Pogba's covered the most ground. I've heard today, Pogba's got the best stats. Without Paul Pogba, we'd be relegated. What a load of nonsense. I mean, where have you been? Get to Specsavers tomorrow. Paul Pogba, for the last 2 games, has been dominated by relegated midfielders. For the 3 games before that, he's been crap. He basically ended his season in the middle of March, like most of that team. That's where I come in about the Pogba unfairness. He is a problem, but so is everybody else. To highlight Pogba on his own is totally and utterly unfair. You've got to bring in Young, Jones, Rashford, Lingard, Martial, loads of other players. It's unfair to highlight Paul Pogba as an individual problem at Manchester United because he's not the worst. There's a lot worse than him, but he's certainly a problem. And if that United fan feels that Pogba is a problem that he wants to express, probably do it in a different way, but I don't have a problem with it. What I do have a problem with is this changing of flip-flopping. Suddenly, Pogba's a victim. Somebody shouted at Paul Pogba. It's not fair. He covers the most distance. Oh, poor Paul Pogba. What a load of crap. The minute you start feeling sorry for those footballers is the minute you accept what happened yesterday against Cardiff or Huddersfield or where we finished in the league. The reality is, every single one of them deserve the criticism they've got. They've all let the club down, let the fans down, let the shirt down. To start sympathising with them, just hold that thought for a moment. To start sympathising with them because somebody shouted at them, how does that help us? Oh, it's not Pogba's fault. And as for his stats, he played 2 months out of an 8-month season. He scored a lot of penalties. He's a very, very good player, but he's nowhere near as good as he should be. But as I said, it's not just about Pogba. Whilst I don't agree with fans who put a player before the club, I don't agree with Pogba being the problem. It's not just Pogba, it's a lot of them. So that's my stance on that. I don't know about yours. English players are less consistent. The real players who have let Ollie down is Lingard and Rashford. Lingard 5 goals in 33 games and Rashford. But you see, again, you're focusing on 2 players. Why is anybody getting any sympathy? It's not Pogba, it's Rashford and Lingard. It's all of them. This is what I'm saying. Don't hide behind stats. I hate stats. Don't hide behind distance covered. If you think World Cup winner, potential world-class player, Paul Pogba, I've seen him dominated by Huddersfield, Cardiff, Everton, Man City, Chelsea. He's been poor for a lot of this season. And that's without touching on what happened under Mourinho. It was even worse then. But everybody's been like that. It's a whole problem. I don't think anyone deserves any sympathy. I think Luke Shaw's been crap the last few weeks and he won Player of the Year. I think Lindelof, everyone goes, Lindelof's the only player to come out of this season with any credibility. Have you seen how many goals we've conceded? He has had a good season, but how good would he be in a good defence? Would he be a liability? We don't know. I've got a few super chats to read out here. We've got a new member from Graham Robinson. Welcome to the club, Graham. Remember, you can join the club there. Did anybody notice Pogba giving his shirt away and a boot, then waving goodbye? Well, he probably will want to go after that. I don't blame Pogba for wanting to go. I'd want to go. He's not getting the best out of his career. The 3-year cycle, he's back where he was. Jaman Jakey says, it's got to the point where I laugh at when we lose because I'm used to seeing the same results week in, week out. It's sad to see players like Greenwood putting in more effort than players like Pogba. Mark Whitton, I remember Fergie years ago saying, if you don't support us when we lose, then don't support us when we win. Fergie went through tough spells too, let's not forget. Stand by the team, we are united. I totally disagree with you and agree with you, Mark. I think Sir Alex Ferguson's right, but he's wrong. This is not about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is not about the coaching staff. This is about the players. I would not agree with that statement. If Sir Alex Ferguson came out now and said, if you can't support us when we lose, don't support us when we win, is anybody not supporting Manchester United? I love Manchester United. That's why I'm fed up. That's why I'm annoyed. We all are annoyed because we care. If we didn't support Manchester United because they've lost, we'd all be singing Man City's name. The statement makes no sense. Well, it does make sense, but it doesn't make sense in the context, because if you can't support us when we lose, don't support us when we win. Well, I still support United. There's 10,000 of you who support United watching now. We've just lost to Cardiff and we're all really pissed off. And we're all talking about it because we love the club. So we're not going anywhere anyway. But we've got every right to be unhappy with the players. MUFC Reese Russell says, just want to ask you a question, Mark. In terms of the domestic cup competitions under Ollie, how far do you think we should aim for? Also, Greenwood number 1. Mason Greenwood's better than Marcus Rashford. Flex says you can't say that. It's too sensationalist. But it's not about... It is sensationalist to do it after one game, but what you can see with Mason Greenwood is technical. He's a technical player. He knows how to caress the ball. He knows how to run with the ball. He's got technique. Rashford panics a lot of the time, and Rashford needs a summer off. He needs to get his head right. He needs to get injury-free. He needs to get focused and get back to the player that he can be, because Marcus Rashford can be absolutely top class, but there's a lot of players like that at United who've lost it. As for the domestic trophies, Ollie himself has spoken about the Europa League. He's spoken about the Carabao Cup. So there's your answer. He's going to try and win something next season. And I know we don't like the Carabao Cup, and I know the Europa League isn't ideal, but that's the level we're at now. We can't be snobby. Jack LUHG says, a reminder, Jose got 81 points with these idiots. Don't come at me with Jose shit. Don't. I've seen a lot of people talking about this. Jose sympathisers. Where were you when he embarrassed us against Sevilla in the Champions League? Where were you when he's putting himself ahead of the club every time, leaking stuff to protect his own big ego? Where were you when we played bloody West Ham away from home and played with a back five with Scott McTominay in it? He was a banter manager who is now getting sympathy because the players have let Ollie down like they let him down. But his tactics, his arrogance, he was a bad manager of Manchester United. He did very well to get us second place, but he was a bad manager. He didn't fit us, and I'm glad he's gone. It's Jordan HD. I have an Insta called @UnitedDig, and Bay follows me. Well done. He might not be a United player for long. We should sack Ollie, then hire him as caretaker, says Mashiat99. I know where you're going with that. Try and get good results. Greenwood had more shots in one game than any United player all season. That was a confirmed stat. Shows he can take a game by the scruff of the neck. Says, well, yeah. What I loved about Mason Greenwood was that he proved that he's got the physicality. He proved that although he's a young teenager, he can play against a very physical side. And he should have scored a couple of goals. I think if that was Lukaku, we would have been really, really critical. But the thing is, we're not going to be critical. As much as we moan about Ashley Young and Phil Jones and everybody else, the great thing about United fans is we're not going to moan at Mason Greenwood because we know he's a young player. We know that. We will be patient with Chong and Gomez and Greenwood and Garner and Twansibi when they get a chance, because we know they're going to make mistakes. We know they're going to miss chances. But as long as we see the talent and as long as we see that drive, well, we will be patient with them. But we're not going to be patient with World Cup winner Paul Pogba, Marcus Rashford, who's been in the team for 3 years, Lingard, who's 27. We're not going to give them the patience because they should be performing consistently week out, and they're consistently performing way below even average. Sujet Daz says, Mark, thanks for the awesome show. Pogba needs good players around him. Look at how he plays for France. Even Ronaldo needs good players. Look at after Xavi and Iniesta retired, no Ballon d'Or for Messi. Look, he does. I've said this already. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Paul Pogba needs better players around him. We bought Paul Pogba in. We didn't put better players around him. You look at him for France. You look at him if he goes to Real Madrid. You look at him at Juventus. He had better players than him around him, and he's a better player. There's too much pressure under Pogba, and he sinks in it. I agree with that. But there's two things out of that. One, United have failed by not bringing in the players in for him. And two, the most important thing is, we're all admitting that Pogba doesn't play well for United. So all these Pogba fans saying, oh, most distant covered, look at the stats. You can't say it's not Pogba's fault, he hasn't got the players around him, and then in the same breath, like a lot of people are saying, he's had a great season. He hasn't had a great season. He hasn't had a great season because he hasn't got the players around him, which means he's not had a great season. Facts. Jam Banjovi, Mark, I know this has nothing to do with this video, but I do not agree with fans shouting abuse at players. That's not who we should be as a fan base. Jam, I do agree with players being shouted at, to be honest with you. They earn hundreds of £1,000s a week because of the fans. Sponsors, everybody else who puts money into football, they do it because they want your eyes. You and your eyes. And the reason somebody like Chevrolet support Manchester United is because they want you to buy a Chevrolet. And if you buy a Chevrolet, they make more profits that they can then sponsor United with. It's because of you that their footballers get paid all that money. You have got every right as a Manchester United fan to criticise the performances of the Manchester United players this season. You have. I don't know why people suddenly think a fan shouting at Paul Pogba is unacceptable. He earns a lot of money. He earns a lot of money and he deserves the criticism if that fan thinks it. Now, the aggression of it, I don't agree with. You know, you could have just said, Pogba, you're not good enough for United, please go. Calmly. It still would have been impactful. It probably would have been more impactful. So I don't agree with the aggression. And also, the most important thing is I don't agree with it just being Pogba. There was Ashley Young on that pitch, Jesse Lingard on the pitch. They've been worse than Pogba this season. They should be getting the same level of abuse. So I agree on that. But I don't agree with a lot of people today saying fans shouldn't be shouting their displeasure at Manchester United players. Of course they should. It's a sport. It's an entertainment business. It's entertainment. You know, you boo people in all sorts of sport. They deserve to be booed. If a fan wants to do it, do it. Would I personally do it? I don't really agree with booing. No, I don't. And I wouldn't do it. But there's lots of different opinions out there. And as I said before, what worries me is you've got all this sympathy for Pogba now. And as I said, no player deserves any sympathy. You can't be all last week, I don't like this team, I don't like these players, and then feel sorry for somebody because someone criticises them. Yes, have an issue with the aggression. That's not acceptable. Yes, have an issue that it's only Pogba. It's not just Pogba. But I don't have an issue with a player being, told that they've not been good enough this season, because the players need to realise that. If you mollycoddle them and wrap them up, then they'll just accept that that's okay. They live in a bubble anyway. That bubble needs to be burst. Reality needs to slap them in the face. Not really. It's a metaphor, but they need a wake-up call for sure as to how bad they've been, because it's the only way we're going to improve. Ollie would agree. Jacob Hurley says, Mark, how can I get a United stand top, and does it come in kids sizes? I want to show support around where I am in the UK for you. Jacob, the link's in the video description. You can get the hoodies, the United Stand FC tops. We've got polos for the summer. Links in the video description for our merch. You can get that, definitely. Fian McCabe, Mark, if they're good enough, they should be fit enough to play. Jose was right about this squad, but I'm not trying to stand up for him. But he was right about Pogba being a virus. I agree, Fian. I think Mourinho's right about some of these players. But you know what makes me laugh? He was still a crap manager with crap tactics. And also, the creme de la creme on this, and I'm going to destroy people who love Mourinho now, he bought most of this crap. He bought most of these viruses. Think about it. I'm not even going to name names. He bought a lot of the problems. So, but it's not his fault. Welcome, Melonhead 1848, latest member of the club. And Mark Whitten, when United broke the bank for Pogba, they had their money made back in 2 days on Pogba jersey sales. That's fake news, Mark. I'm sorry. There's a myth about shirt sales getting back transfer fees. They don't. United don't actually make that much money from shirt sales, because it's all part of the Adidas thing in the first place. Adidas don't pay United millions of pounds for a shirt deal and then give them all the profit from the shirts. They get it. So that's always a myth about shirt signings. Anyway, I don't want to miss some of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Koulibaly's looking good. Woodward. I've been told that David De Gea is going to leave this summer. I have got no idea how credible this source is, but they contacted me today and say De Gea is going to go. I'm 50-50 on whether De Gea is going to go, but I'll mention it to you anyway. Terms and conditions, we've done all that. Yes. I'll tell you what, amazing show. Absolutely enjoyed it. Please do smash a like on the video. I think that's one of the best shows we've ever done, and a lot of it was pretty unscripted. I think this is going to be the standard to try and keep up throughout the summer. Every night at 8 o'clock on the United Stand. Every morning at 7 a.m. for Transfer Daily, and then we'll go live with anything that breaks through the summer. But for me, just to end on this, the season's over. I ain't looking back at that crap. I'm looking forward. And whether it's discussing directors of football, what Solskjaer wants, transfers, whatever, I'm looking forward. We've got to look forward, because if you look back, you're never going to go forward. So I'm looking forward. And as part of going forward, you've got to address some of the issues that are still there. But we've got to look forward. We've got to look forward. And, so the club needs to as well. Please do subscribe if you're new. We're live every night at 8 o'clock. And we're also got the Transfer Daily at 7 a.m. So get your notifications on. Smash a like on the video. Absolutely fantastic. Loads of great comments. Fast paced tonight. Sorry I was a little bit late. I was late tonight. Normally 8 o'clock. 8:30 tonight, because my daughter was playing in a cup semi-final. Got in a little bit late. They lost 2-1. It was close. It was close. That's football. But the effort was there. The talent was there. It was just they had a very good striker. Melonhead 1848. If Alex Ferguson took over today, would we give him the 6 or 7 seasons it took for him to really kick on? It's a totally different time. It is a totally different time. United's problem is because of bad recruitment. and we've got no structure, we've got no philosophy. Sir Alex Ferguson came in with a plan, and it took a while to implement, but you could see the plan under Sir Alex Ferguson. You could see what he was trying to do. He was rebuilding a club that had basically not been structured for 20 years. Ollie's going to try and do that. Hopefully it'll work. I'll see you in the morning at 7 o'clock. Transfer Daily. Please do smash a like on the video. Merch is available. Link in the video description if you want to get some United Stand stuff. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.